Hello everybody, in today's video we're going to be going over a potential winter storm Nathaniel, which is going to be moving throughout parts of the Midwest, the Great Lakes, and then in through the Northeast, and some areas could even get more than 6 inches of snowfall. We'll have your snowfall forecast for the entire system in today's video, and that'll be at the end of the video, so make sure you are staying tuned all the way until the end so you don't miss that. So let's get right into it here, and let's start talking about your current National Weather Service page. We have some winter weather advisories in effect for parts of the Midwest and the Great Lakes, as well as for parts of Nebraska and Kansas. That's all from this upcoming system that's going to be moving into this area. We also have some wind chill advisories in effect for parts of upstate New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and into Maine, with even a couple avalanche warnings in northern New Hampshire. We have more winter weather advisories and winter storm warnings scattered throughout the western United States, with some winter storm watches through Arizona, Nevada, and into California there. And then we have a few wind advisories just scattered throughout that region. And that's all because of a system that's moving into the western United States. And it's actually going to be a quite active pattern for some of these areas where a few of those highest elevations could get over 100 inches of snowfall in the next 10 days. So it'll definitely be a very, very active period of time. So here's what the current European model is showing. And we're going to time this out for you guys. Then we'll look at the GFS model, and then we'll look at a couple other factors, and then we'll look at my snowfall forecast. So this would be by Sunday night, so tomorrow night, and then here would be by Monday morning, right around 1 a.m. Eastern time, 12 a.m. Central time. We're looking at a bit of rain-snow mix through Illinois and Indiana, as well as potentially through West Virginia and Maryland right there. And then you're going to continue to see the brunt of the system, which by this point is still out in Oklahoma and Kansas, continue to move further to the north and to the east, with some more rain and snow setting up throughout this region of northern Missouri, southern Iowa, and Illinois there. And then the system by Monday early afternoon, so this would be by 1 p.m. Eastern time, 12 p.m. Central time on Monday, we're looking at more of that snow through northern Illinois and Indiana, moving through northernmost Missouri and into southern Iowa there. We have a rather robust high pressure in place that's further to the north, that's actually off of the screen, and that is going to be kind of shoving down some more of that cold air into the northeastern United States, and that's what's going to allow some of that snow to develop. And I think there will be a very sharp cutoff line in terms of where that snow sets up. You basically go north and east of this line right here, and you're not dealing with a lot of snowfall, and you go south of here, and you're dealing with maybe a few inches, a couple to a few inches of snowfall out of this event. We also have to watch out for the probability or the chance that we'll see a little bit of ice over a very thin area over Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, and potentially into parts of Ohio there. This would be by Monday night, and then getting through Tuesday early in the morning. We could see an onset of snowfall for some of these regions, although I think it'll probably move over back to rain, and I don't anticipate too much accumulation. For the overnight hours on Monday, you might see a quick 1 or 2 inch accumulation, and then it should get washed away overnight if you live basically from Washington, D.C. southward. But if you live north of there, you might be able to hold on to a bit of that snow for a bit longer. And you can see that snow stretches from northern Missouri and southern Iowa eastward all the way to southern New Jersey and northern Delaware. And you are looking at the potential for a fairly major ice event for northwestern Virginia, northeastern West Virginia, western Maryland, and southwestern, especially south central parts of Pennsylvania there, where you could deal with, especially in those valley areas where you can trap in a little bit of cold air, some of that ice precipitation, and that could definitely be fairly major, maybe up to a 1/4 of an inch of ice in some of those isolated pockets in some of those valleys. Here would be by Tuesday morning, right around 7 a.m. Eastern time, 6 a.m. Central time. We're looking at more of that snow. It's going to be fairly light to moderate for a lot of these areas. From about Michigan eastward, it should be fairly light to moderate. You go back into southern Iowa, northern Missouri, you could have a couple pockets of heavier snow here and there, but for the most part, it's going to be a lighter snowfall, light to moderate snowfall. So even though it is going to be over a span of 24 to 36 hours where it might be snowing for that entire period, it's going to be very light, maybe a 1/4 of an inch to an inch of to a 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch of snow per hour. So it's not going to be very, very steady and fast. You'll get a couple quick bursts, but overall it's going to be a steady, slow snowfall snowfall that over time, over about a day, it's going to accumulate, and that's what's going to be that's what's going to kind of make it more of one of those snowfalls that you can probably drive through. Actually, it's not going to be too big of a deal in terms of the actual intensity of the snowfall, although you could still get a few inches of snowfall when it's all said and done with. This would be by Tuesday early afternoon, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 12 p.m. Central Time on Tuesday. We're looking at more of that light to moderate snowfall moving through parts of northern New Jersey, northern Pennsylvania, actually much of Pennsylvania except for the southern tier there. And then for southern New York, that's where you're also looking at some more snowfall. And then back through the Great Lakes, a little bit more lingering snowfall, very light and moderate over those areas. A few of those areas, especially over the mid-Atlantic, so from southern New Jersey and southern Pennsylvania southward, could definitely switch over to more rain as we go through the day on Tuesday, and as that warm air starts to kind of push further to the north. Although a lot of these areas, especially from the northern half of New Jersey northward, are going to be dealing with a lot more snow. I don't think there'll be too much of a mixing accumulation issue if you live north of that area. And then you can see that line kind of just gets suppressed further to the south as we get more cold air to press in. So now parts of Pennsylvania, New York, and New Jersey are now dealing with a lot more snowfall. It is going to stay, again, light to moderate. It's Tuesday night by this point, and it's been snowing for over 24 hours in a lot of these areas, and even through the Midwest over 36 hours. But again, because it's going to be so light, it'll be really light, and it really won't accumulate to a ton of snowfall just because of how light it will be falling. Even though it will be falling for such a long period of time, it's not going to be one of those 1 or 2 inch per hour snowfall rates. Again, it's going to be maybe a quarter of an inch to half an inch of snowfall per hour. Here to be by Wednesday early in the morning, and then here's by Wednesday in the morning, and then here's the early afternoon. You could see a couple of rain or snow showers mix in there through the day on Wednesday, but it really will be all said and done with by daybreak on Wednesday. So here's what the GFS model is showing, and then we're going to look at a couple of different factors here. We see that big low pressure system down through Oklahoma, Arkansas, and even into Missouri there with a little bit of snow on the backside of this, and you're going to see this move further up to the north and to the east, and it's going to collide into some of that colder air coming in from the north. So the GFS brings this further to the east, and you're starting to see this low pressure develop. But what's happening is that it's actually splitting its energy with two different systems. It's splitting off into two systems. This one's going to go way off to the east, and this other one, which I'll draw in pink here, is going to move further, kind of closer to shore, but it's still going to be further offshore. So this main low pressure system is going to have a really tough time trying to develop because it's splitting its energy with three different systems. So you're kind of weakening the system quite a bit. And because of how far offshore these systems will be, they'll be all the way out here, it's going to be difficult to get some heavy, consistent precipitation. Again, it's going to be very light precipitation for the most part, but it should accumulate because of how prolonged this system will be. So this would be by Tuesday morning. We're starting to see a lot of snow for especially the Great Lakes. It's starting to move into parts of Maryland, Pennsylvania, southernmost New Jersey, and then you're continuing through the day on Tuesday. This would be by daybreak on Tuesday. We're dealing with that low pressure moving further to the north. I don't think it'll actually make it this far to the north. This cold air should suppress it further south, so maybe southern Indiana is where it really gets to, and then starts to plateau eastward. And the GFS, again, it has a warmer bias, so it does like to bring in more warm air than there actually is. So you're going to see some of that rain mixes in to areas that would likely, throughout this type of system, with how much cold air we really have in place, it will probably be mostly snow for a lot of these areas. If you get from the mid-Atlantic southward, that's where it's going to be mainly rain for those areas. You see that low pressure heading fairly far to the north. Again, I think that track is going to be further south than what the GFS is showing, and you're seeing a mix of rain and snow all throughout the northeast and the lower Great Lakes. And then zooming in here, you can see by Wednesday morning, it's just a scattered rain or snow shower. That's not going to really be too big of a deal. So here's the snowfall totals, and the main thing that's changed is that we've increased the snowfall totals, and these are not my forecast. This is what the models that we just looked at are showing. The main thing is that these snowfall predictions have increased, although for the northeast, they've died down by about 1 or 2 inches, and that's mainly because the models have picked up on potentially a second low pressure forming off of that original one. So we're going to have that first one right here, and then you're going to see another one try to form out here, and then you're going going to see another one potentially right there. So it's splitting its energy with 3 different systems, and they're going to be fairly offshore. So that's what probably is decreasing these amounts, just how light the snowfall will be when it's falling. And also, this will be a fairly fluffy snowfall. So we're not going to be dealing with heavy wet snow for a lot of these areas. It should be a fairly fluffy, consistent snow. So that'll make it much easier to shovel than one of those heavier snowfall events. Now, here would be what the GFS model is showing, and you're dealing with, again, pretty much that same area looking at some heavy snowfall. I think both of these models are overdoing this area right here. I don't think you'll see as much snowfall. I don't think you're going to be seeing those 20-inch amounts for those areas, but of course you could see some amounts over a foot in some spots. And again, I think this is a little bit too far to the north. We have that cold high pressure in place, and that should allow more of that cold air to press into the northeast, and it's really unlikely that there would be less than an inch all the way throughout these regions. I think that area of heaviest snowfall will be pushed further to the south, kind of like what the European model is showing. And then here's what the Canadian model is showing. We're looking at some of that heavier snowfall throughout this region, and then again some more of that lighter, moderate snowfall throughout parts of the northeast there. And again, most of those models are actually picking out this area to see some of the heaviest snowfall, and it's actually been rather consistent showing that. Although I do think some of these amounts are overdone. Of course, you could see a couple amounts over a foot, but I don't think 2 feet or more is that likely with this. And then here would be what the GFS ensembles are showing. Again, I think these are a little bit too warm over the northeast, although I do think this is actually a fairly good estimate of what could happen. I think that's actually pushed a little bit further to the south than what I think is going to happen. And then here's what the European ensembles are showing, and they're showing pretty much the same thing as the GFS, except pushed a little bit further to the north. And you can see we're looking at potentially over half a foot for a lot of those areas. And again, a couple pockets over a foot in southern Iowa are not impossible. So here's what my snowfall forecast is showing from today all the way through Wednesday. Under an inch of snowfall anywhere in the light blue. That's from the northeast westward through the Ohio Valley into the Great Lakes, and then back through into the Midwest and the northern plains. This is where I think you're going to see some snow, maybe just some flakes, nothing that's going to accumulate to too much. But in this 1 to 3 inch area, this is where I think you could see some decent accumulation. I'll put a little disclaimer here. If you live generally in this area, I don't think it'll be too much accumulation, just because most of the accumulation will come Monday night into Tuesday morning, and then Tuesday morning it should switch over to rain. So a lot of those areas will wash away most of that snowfall. So that could actually be a little bit misleading there. You'll still see a little bit of accumulation, but it should wash away easily. Although the real jackpot zone is going to be right throughout this region, where you could be seeing the most snowfall, and you'll see that in the upcoming frames here. So here's that 3 to 6 inch area, and that covers much of the northern plains through the Great Lakes and into the northeast there. And then here's that 6 to 12 inch area, and you can see we have a couple pockets for northern Pennsylvania with southwestern New York into southwestern Michigan, northern Illinois, maybe even into southern Wisconsin, much of the southern half of Iowa, and into parts of Nebraska there, where you could be looking at over 6 inches. And I think, again, for a little area in southern Iowa, you guys could be dealing with potentially over 12 inches of snow, although exactly where that occurs is going to be all due to where do the heaviest bands of snowfall set up, and that's more of a shorter term issue, and that's what we're going to have to figure out in the next couple of days. So that is going to wrap it up for today's video. Please consider liking the video, subscribing, and turning on notifications, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.